With us right now is the IMF chief. Ma'am, if I were to ask you, how did the meetings go? Has there been consensus on issues like debt restructuring and global financial architecture?
I want to congratulate India and the Ministry of Finance Central Bank for excellent organization of the meetings and for creating the atmosphere to build consensus. One Earth, one family, one future. And this is the spirit of the meetings. On debt restructuring, while there are still some disagreements, we now have a global sovereign debt roundtable with participation of all public and private creditors and of debtor countries. We just finished a session in which it is clear that there is commitment to bridge differences for the benefit of countries that depend on that. On the global financial architecture, a recognition that in the world we live that is more shock prone, we need each other, we have to overcome divisions, and despite of the fragmentation that we are facing, we can do that when there is political will. Prime Minister Modi sent a very powerful message to all of us yesterday, and in the spirit of this message, work is going forward. There is more to do, but I'm encouraged by the spirit of collaboration India has built.
But there has been a lot of concern about the resilience of the global economy, the shocks that are in store. What did you warn G20 leaders about as far as the state of economy and what lies ahead?
The message we come with is we have found resilience over the last years, but we also recognize that 2023 is going to be a challenging year. Why? Because global growth is slowing down. At the same time, there are signs that it may be a turning point with growth bottoming out and inflation finally trimming down. We are most concerned about uncertainties. The war in Ukraine is a grave source of uncertainty, but so are other factors. In 2022, there were natural disasters on all continents. We started this year with the tragedy in Turkey and Syria. In this environment, we have to recognize that we have to learn to think of the unthinkable and have a mindset that is oriented towards building resilience. Resilient people that are educated, healthy, with strong social protection, resilient societies, they are fair, inclusive, and create opportunities for everybody to prosper, and of course a resilient planet.
Right. My final question on cryptocurrencies. There is a lot of concerns about cryptocurrencies where you don't know who the issuer is. How should the G20 approach this issue? Everyone is waiting for some sort of global framework. Should we be moving towards a ban or regulations?
What we recognize is that digital money is now part of the way the economy functions. We have to differentiate between central bank digital currencies that are backed by the state and stable coins and crypto assets that are privately issued. In that world of private issuance, there has to be more regulation. We now recognize that we have been a bit slow as a global community, and therefore the Financial Stability Board, the International Monetary Fund, Bank for International Settlement, we all have committed to work hard to present foundation for regulation. The IMF just days ago discussed this issue at our board, and what the conclusion is: first, crypto assets are not money. They cannot be accepted as a legal tender. Second, there has to be very strong push for regulation. And third, if regulation fails, so if we are slow to do it, then we should not take off the table banning those assets because they may create financial stability risk.
Right. And finally, will the world be able to avoid a recession this year?
It looks like we will avoid recession. There will be countries that are in negative territory, but global recession is less likely. Why? 3 reasons. One, We were surprised by the resilience of labor markets in many economies in the United States, in Europe, and the resilience of consumer spending. Two, we have been quite impressed by how quickly Europe managed to free itself from dependency on Russian oil and gas. Mother Nature helped. The winter was milder this year, but that allowed the European economies, many of them, to avoid recession. Not all of them, but many of them. And three, China took a decision to open up, and that is creating a new impetus for growth in China. India is a bright spot on the global scene. Actually, India is contributing 15% of global growth this year. So thank you, India.
So finally, you're in India. Any recommendations for the Indian government to have a higher growth path?
The Indian government has been very persistent in promoting reforms and has delivered digitalization as a driver for growth, public digital infrastructure as a foundation for how the Indian society is dealing with social problems and also creating opportunities for growth. This is quite amazing. What India can do more of is to continue on that path of structural reforms and to work even harder on more inclusiveness. And I see that this is being embraced by India. Here in this building, there is a very impressive statue, a bull with a barcode on its head, meaning even in the rural areas of India, digitalization is penetrating, giving access to internet to every Indian everywhere. Opening up more opportunities for women. Prime Minister Modi has embraced the fact that in India women are still underutilized resource for growth. These are the pathways for India to grow even faster.
Right, and the war becomes the biggest threat. Everyone here has said this is the biggest threat to the global economy. Do you think that could create more supply shocks?
It is very uncertain how the war is going to evolve, and as long as this uncertainty is with us, it can make especially energy markets anxious. What we all pray is for peace, not only for the people of Ukraine that have suffered so much, but also for more calm in the world economy. There is plenty of uncertainty anyway. We should be making it possible for this one to stop. What is important is to recognize that in a fast-moving world where changes are penetrating societies much faster than in the past, we have to be prepared to be more agile. And this agile mindset is something that here in the G20 we are striving for.
IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva, thank you so much for talking to us, summing up the G20 meetings and your recommendations to global leaders here on how to avoid a recession and put the world economy on a sustained growth path. Thanks once again for being with us.